It was about a year ago I moved out from Los Angeles to Phoenix to do the cognitive behavioral group here. Um, One of the reasons that I could move is because of my social anxiety. I didn't have a career or any relationship type things that I was tied into. And so, due to some of the depression and the experience with anxiety my whole life, I didn't know that much about the tape series or Dr. Richards, and so I decided to just come out here and try it. And at first it was, it was scary. I felt like I was going to come into the group and be just extremely quiet, nervous, not able to do anything, and that it would just be another experience in my life that reinforced that I have this thing that I don't know how to get rid of. But the group starts off very slow. And the first time you come in here, you don't really have to say anything. You just get comfortable in the room. There's about 6 to 8 of you at that point. And, each week it kind of builds up and you don't have to do anything that you don't want to do. And at first it took me a lot of time to build up and do some things. I can remember him asking me if I could to think about dropping a tray in the mall eventually. And I just couldn't picture doing it because I didn't want to draw that attention. I thought I'd blush and do these things at that point. And there was all these fears coming into it. But as you work on the cognitive and you have the support of the people around you, and you really start to learn that the other people in your group have similar things, and seeing it in another person's helpful because it's so easy to see that they don't deserve to have this or they shouldn't think that way about themselves. But as the weeks went on, as the cognitive start to set in, as you do a little more behaviorally, each success kind of builds on itself. And over time, I started to do more and more. I started to become less self-conscious. Eventually dropping the tray in the mall was easy. One thing I never used to like to do is dance sober, but I've been able to do that in a variety of settings, and it can be fun if the anxiety's not there, and all these things that anxiety blocked, you gradually can work your way out of. In the first group I was in, I still was pretty quiet. I didn't like to talk as much in those groups. But as each successive group I've been in, I open up a little more. I can talk a little more. I'm a little more comfortable. And at this point, I'm beginning to try to do things outside of the group. I'm beginning to go to Toastmasters, where you work on public speaking. I recently started a counseling program, and it's one of the first times I've ever felt comfortable in a school setting. I don't worry about going to class. And when I get to class, I don't completely shut off. Sometimes I talk to the people sitting around me and just have small conversations, and it's not that hard for me now. And sometimes when I'm in class, I'm able to laugh at different jokes, and before I would have been frozen, trying not to get the attention drawn to me. And another thing, I chose a graduate counseling program that definitely requires me to keep moving forward, because as I've done the therapy, as I've started to make success, I can see the possibility of moving away from anxiety altogether and living a life free of it. I still have anxiety in a lot of ways in my life, but my view of it has shifted. And definitely my outlook on life and depression has calmed way down. I don't see this hopeless, worthless type world. And while I don't completely accept myself yet, I'm moving to that point where it's getting better and better. And even if I didn't get any better with my social anxiety at this point, I could see living a fulfilling and happy life with the level of anxiety I'm at, because of the different techniques, or just the way I view anxiety, or the way I think about it when an anxious moment happens afterwards. I don't dwell on it for hours, or the anticipatory anxiety doesn't come in forever. And so coming to this group has had a huge impact on my life, and it's hard to explain how much it's changed me, because on the one hand, if I didn't find the group, I was just completely going in the other way. So if I didn't come here, I've made a lot of progress forward, but if I didn't, I would have just kept moving in that other way, because I had no coping mechanisms for it, and I had no support groups or anything. I was just in my own head and in my depression, and there wasn't any way to move out of it from that point. And so I would say that the cognitive tapes are the best form of therapy I've seen. And getting in a behavioral group after the cognitive starts to sink in. And I've seen a lot of people who've come through this group. And the people who stick with it that I've been around for a while, they all have made a lot of progress. And so, from being here, I definitely think social anxiety is a treatable disorder.